If you want a Hallmark movie, go fucking call somebody else.
I just want to hear about the origins of this series, right? How did you put together this dystopian sci-fi series?
Sure. Well, I've been involved around, I've been collecting cryptocurrency since like 2017. And so in March of 2021, during the pandemic, I got heavily involved in NFTs. And I've been an independent filmmaker for the better of 20 years and have been working in Hollywood as an actor and as a filmmaker now for 18, 19 years or so. And so when the NFT boom hit, I ended up minting one of the first short films as a one-of-one NFT. And I've been producing spoken word films, what I call spinema films, spoken word cinema. I've been producing these films for about 18 years that are films told entirely in poetry that are socially conscious in their themes. So I minted the first one as an NFT, and that ended up auctioning hugely successfully. Forbes covered the story. I donated all the proceeds to the George Floyd Memorial Foundation and quickly became a very sought after socially conscious artist, but also a thought leader in blockchain and cinema. And so that was basically the trajectory that took me to Art Basel and the biggest stages in the world. And I was speaking at a tech conference for a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V as he's most widely known. And that's where I met the folks at Gala. And obviously we had a lot of synergy. And that quickly turned into me learning that they were building this new ecosystem of their entertainment hub called Gala Film. So they had already launched Gala Music, which is basically like Spotify that's blockchain backed. And they have Gala Games, which is their biggest ecosystem. And so now they were building this nascent ecosystem, and I was the first partner that came on board. And they asked me, "What do you want to make?" And I was like, "Well, I want to create something that speaks to Web3. I want to create something that speaks to the tech and the language and the ideas that I'm always involved in. So blockchain, crypto, and all this other stuff." And I was like, "But I also want to create something that would appeal to the demographic of tech, but also create something that I would want to watch." You know what I mean? Like, I say it honestly, like if you want a Hallmark movie, go fucking call somebody else. You know, don't call me. You know, if you want melodrama, there's somebody down the street. If you want grit, if you want existentialism, if you want cinema, if you want the human condition, if you want grime, I'm your guy, right? So with all that being said, I thought of films like Blade Runner, Children of Men, um, the first Matrix, both Blade Runners for that matter. Even films like Prisoner, these are films that to me really, really speak to my heart. And so taking all these technological tropes and then having a visual aesthetic, now I understood how I want to compartmentalize it, but then what was the story? So the story was inspired by mostly by Elon Musk Neuralink technology, where I said, okay, so what if we have this dark, gritty, sort of like dystopian world, and our lead is a bit of an anti-hero, and maybe he's a bit flawed, but he's also a bit of a mad scientist, and he creates this device that is like a brain implant, but it's like 10,000 times better than Neuralink. In other words, it allows you to access all data instantaneously, download, transmit, execute in real time. And I'm like, okay, now that's interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because now you got a guy who is either infinitely dangerous or potentially infinitely good, depending on where his morality sits. And that's one of the bigger questions that we ask in RZR is that like, is artificial intelligence dangerous, or is it dangerous because of the hands in which it's wielded, right? Because this sort of technology would do very different things in Pope Francis's mind and do very different things in Vladimir Putin's mind, right? And so, Grimm, our lead character, ends up, what he believes can make the world a better place ultimately reaps a lot more havoc and chaos than he had ever bargained for. And he has to figure out how to be the lesser of evil amongst a den of thieves and murderers and manipulators.
How did you get yourself into the character as Grimm? Because I feel like there's just like this dark, mysterious like thing going on, and I'm like, how do you place yourself into that role?
I show a lot of teeth, and in my real life, and I think there's only like two scenes in the entire season where Grimm smiles. He like he's the character that I wrote he's a returning combat veteran. So he has a tragic story in that he experienced the nuclear, basically the nuclear fallout of what a fictitious World War III. So he has elements of post-traumatic stress. He's also an addict. He's hooked on benzos and opiates, and But he's also a guy who lives in the shadows. He's a technologist, but he's also a black hat hacker. That's hard. That's a mouthful. A black hat hacker. Say that 3 times fast. So he's anonymous, and that's hence RZR. That's his screen name, Razor. And so when thinking about this character, it needed to be someone who is subdued, who is fast on his feet, who is quick to protect, but also doesn't necessarily want or seek conflict, because he's a tactical guy. And most tactical guys that I know aren't loud. They're very quiet, right? Because it's the training that comes associated with that. And I wanted to play someone who's also, anti-Bianchi. I'm loud and boisterous, and Grimm is not. And so it took a lot of discipline for me to fill those shoes.
RZR is set to be an immersive experience for audiences. Can you speak about what audience should expect and how immersive it is?
From a viewership perspective, you'll be able to go on Gala Film. It doesn't matter where you live. And the cool thing is that it's a free platform, right? So there's no paywall. So you just set up an account, you can click and watch. Now, the immersive component of this is what we call mystery boxes, right? So when you set up an account, we're going to create a wallet for you, right? And in that wallet, we're going to drop a mystery box. And the mystery box is like a scratch off. You're going to open it up, and then these things are going to pop out. And what we did after we finished the entire season was I went back in with my writing and directing partner, and we directed about 40 more minutes of immersive content. So let's say, for example, you're watching a show and two people are arguing at a kitchen table and one person storms out. Imagine if you can click a button and you can watch him or her in first person, giving you like a video journal of their broken heart about the experience that you just saw in that scene, right? And on top of that, you can then collect that as a digital collectible. And if you collect that, then you get to actually earn currency. You actually get to earn crypto through the ecosystem of Gala Film. It's really quite simple. If you just want to go and watch, just go and watch, and it's not complicated. If you want to get involved in the lore and the immersiveness of what you just asked for and what I just described, that involves going deeper and going into the wormhole.
Hey, I love that. I feel like it's just like putting all your passions together. That's what I'm getting.
I'm very blessed that being a multi-hyphenate is not for everybody. Being a writer and a producer and an actor, I'm also a director. It's like they're all very, very different disciplines, and they all require very different mindsets and different approaches. And it takes a lot of focus and a lot of experience and a lot of failure. I always tell people, hurry up and start failing so you could get to your career.
So you lead in this show, right? But you're also, like you said, creating, co-writing, producing it. How was this project different? Like, what was it like wearing all those hats? And how did you learn from it? What did you learn from it?
It was the hardest fucking thing I ever had to do.
Okay.
But the experience of having been an independent filmmaker for so many years was what informed my ability to execute, right? Because of my experience, I was able to bring tools to the table that most people wouldn't be able to bring to the table, like knowing who to hire and why to hire. Everything really boils down to your team. You have to hire the right technicians in the respective departments. Like even as an actor, we always say, look, I'm only as good as my scene partner, right? And so as an actor or as a producer, the cinematographer is only as good as his operator. The operator is only as good as the focus puller. The focus puller is only as good as the second AC. And the production designer, art director, prop master, set deck, they all have respective positions in their departments. And so if you're hiring the most exceptional people that you can get in your departments, it gives me the ability to trust that everything is being executed so I can turn the producer mind off and become an actor in the moment.
You spoke a lot about, having your team. So you have some heavy hitters like Emilio Rivera, Danny Trejo. What was it like putting together that cast, and how did you select them?
Where are you from? You said Trejo.
I'm I'm from the Bronx. I'm actually Trinidadian, but I'm all around all the Hispanics. That's my community.
I love it. Now I'm hearing that Trinidadian, a little bit of sound there. Yeah, I had an incredible team, and I've just been really blessed. Like, um, the cast that I was able to bring onto this project, and albeit we didn't have a great budget, like we were not running on studio budgets here. And so the cast was really drawn by two things. One, they were drawn by the script, right? But they're also drawn by my body of work as a producer. you know. And so when I get offered a job as an actor and I don't know the team, the first thing that I ask is who's directing, who's the DP, and who's producing. Because I want to know that they're going to deliver production value that's going to protect my intellectual property, my human being, right? That's my IP as an actor. So there's that. Okay, cool. DP's great. Oh, the producer's got experience. Okay, cool. The director's got experience. Okay, cool. Now let me read the script, right? And so that's kind of the layers I think most smart actors tend to go through. And so we checked the first three boxes, and then it came to script. And Mina Suvaria was, she's a BAFTA nominee and a SAG Award winner. And I was just so grateful that when she read the script, she was just like, this is phenomenal. I want to do this. She's like, this is a world I've never seen before. And she trusted us. I had never had the opportunity to work with Mina, and she was just wonderful. And Danny, same thing. I produced a project with Danny before, so we had an existing relationship. And me and Emilio have been friends for over a decade. He's been a mentor of mine. So I wrote that character for him. Like he was the
Okay.
first person I called. I was like, yo, Emilio, bro, I wrote this for you. Like there's nobody else that I want to have do this. And I just like at that point, it was just like, okay, God, will his professional availability land within our production schedule? And was Fox willing to let him go to come shoot something else because he was tied up with Mayans? So, as God would have it, it all worked out. And Richard Cabral, a primetime Emmy nominee, like, he's a savage, and it's the same thing. You know, look at the team, then the script, and then decide if you say yes.
Last and final question. I've enjoyed talking to you. Why go with Gala? So, like, there's other streaming services. How are they different from those streaming services?
First off, this is RZR is their very, very first title. Like we're the prom king rolling out the red carpet to the world to be onboarded onto Gala. Um, but the main reason why is because they're Web3. And what does that mean? They are focused on creator economies. In other words, they're interested in giving provenance and power to the artist. So they basically came to me and said, David, what do you want to create? I pitched them the world of RZR and they loved it. And they said, okay, David, you go ahead and create it. Period. Full stop. Like there wasn't any oversight. There wasn't any micromanaging on the script. They gave me permission to write the script that I wanted to write with my writing partner, Daniel J. Pico. They gave me permission to hire everybody that I wanted to hire, my cinematographer, my cast. There was no oversight. So, I mean, we shot the entire show and they were not involved in the creative process. They said, David, we trust you. Go ahead and make it. And on top of that, I also retained Final Cut. So they fundamentally gave me all the creative control that every artist on the planet would only dream of. And so RZR is what it is because I didn't have to go to Big Brother every time I needed to make a decision. That is unprecedented. It's unheard of in the Hollywood ecosystem, in the traditional Web2 Hollywood world. It just doesn't happen. I mean, even Tom Cruise has to answer to somebody,
Right.
you know? And so the fact that I was able to just create this world and they provided the financial resources to create this world, and gave me that responsibility, obviously, it's like, okay, David, now don't fuck it up. But, because of that, I'm not going anywhere. Like, if I can continue to create this way with Gala, I will stay with Gala for the remainder of my career.
Well, that's a perfect way to end. I thank you so much for speaking
Yeah.
to Pop Culture Planet. It's been lovely to speak with you.